Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your Week 4 Monday Morning Breakfast Bite. Now, this week we're going to be learning about agency and contracting. So I'm going to introduce you to contracting and the understanding of agency law. But before we do that, I just want to take a quick look at the homework assignments as usual. So let's go down to the homework submodule or subfolder. And in that subfolder, you'll see several items, obviously the module for discussion, and the module for writing assignment, as well as a module for matching game. So as far as the writing assignment is concerned, you're continuing to build on the assignment that, on the case that you've been using over the past 2 weeks. And what you're going to be doing with that case now is you're going to be pulling out from it the law that the court used to reach its decision, as well as explaining in your own words your understanding of how the court reached the court's decision. So what you want to do is identify the actual law, whether it's case law, whether it's statutory law, what it was that the court had to use to rely on. Don't take the shotgun approach and just list every case that's in there or every statute. Look at what the real issue is in the case, how the court actually held in the case, and then what law the court actually had to utilize in order to reach its decision. When you get to the rationale section, so you're going to have one section labeled law and the next section labeled rationale, then what you're going to do is you're going to be, as you were reading through the opinion, articulate in no less than 400 to 500 words, using proper paragraph structure, your understanding of how the court reached its decision. Please do not use a lot of quoting in this section. Remember to use past tense verbs, because this happened in the past. It's not presently occurring. What you're doing is you're simply still analyzing the case. You can't research it outside of the case. You can't go to Google and type in the case name. You can't go and find other sources that interpreted the case. You have to explain to me in your words your understanding of how the court reached its decision on the overall issue in the case, the overarching issue. There are tutorials that I've actually put into the homework folder, how to brief a case, the law, and how to brief a case, the rationale. So pay attention, please, to those tutorials. If you have questions after looking at those tutorials, don't hesitate to email me, and I would be happy to help you, because I would love to see everybody do really well on this and get a good grade. Now, as far as the module 4 matching game, you can take it several times, and then don't forget your postings for this week's discussion. First posting by Thursday, second posting by Sunday night, which is your response posting. Now, with that said, let's take a look at agency law. And when we talk about agency law, what we're talking about is a special relationship between two people, two persons. It could be an entity, a business entity, and an individual. It could be a business entity and another business entity. Well, the agency relationship is defined by the two parties involved in the relationship. Sometimes there may be more than two parties, but let's just focus on the two parties, one of which is called the principal and the other of which is called the agent. When you look at the situation, the principal is the one on whose behalf the agent is being enlisted to act. And the most common understanding of that is the real estate agent relationship. The real estate client-agent relationship. It could be the doctor-patient relationship. It could be the attorney-client relationship. There are so many different avenues to take, but any time that we are enlisted by another person, be it an entity or an individual, to act on their behalf, to do anything, then we become an agent to that person. As an instructor for St. Petersburg College, I'm an employee of St. Petersburg College, and in that capacity as an employee, I'm an agent for St. Petersburg College. What that means is, with that relationship, which is considered a relationship of trust, you also have a fiduciary duty, and that fiduciary duty is defined as acting in the principal's best interest, while the principal as well acts in the agent's best interest. In other words, the principal can't go behind the agent's back to try and cut a better deal with somebody. or for whatever reason the agent was hired. So you have to involve the agent. The agent always has to act in the best interest of the principal and vice versa. So that's very important. Contracts are actually part of that agency relationship. And when we talk about contracts, we're talking about a situation where you have two or more parties entering into an agreement. Generally, as I always say, it's always best to get everything in writing. So they enter into this agreement, and in doing so, there's what we call the meeting of the minds. And there's also an exchange of what we call consideration. Consideration is the purpose really of this contract. I want to have a roof put on my house, and it's going to cost $5,000. The consideration is the roof going on the house for the person that needs the roof, and the consideration for the roofing company is the payment of the money. So you always have a consideration, this exchange of something for something else. So we call it quid pro quo, this for that. If you give someone something and you don't expect anything in return, you're not entering into a contract. What you're doing is you're giving that person a gift. In order for it to be a contract, there have to be some defined elements to it. There has to be a meeting of the minds. There has to be consideration. It has to be for a valid purpose. It can't be for an illegal purpose. It has to be the people entering into the contract have to have capacity. And then finally, you have to look at the form of the contract depending on the situation. So as you go through this week's material, keep these things in mind. The agency relationship is basically a contractual relationship. And so think about that when you're looking at contract law, the importance of contract law, because it spans everything that we do from the standpoint of buying a car, renting a house or buying a house, your employment, so many aspects of our lives that we don't think about that have to do with contracts. If you have questions, of course, do not hesitate to contact your instructor. Have a wonderful week 4, and good luck with all the assignments.